সম্মানিত সুধীমণ্ডলী, এ পর্যায়ে আমরা আরো একটি আলোচনা শুনবো। উনি কিনুস স্পিকার প্রফেসর ডক্টর ওয়াকার উদ্দিন। উনি ডিরেক্টর জেনারেল আরাকান রোহিঙ্গা ইউনিয়ন এবং হি ইজ অলসো প্রফেসর অফ পেনসিলভেনিয়া স্টেট ইউনিভার্সিটি, USA. He is current the Director General of Arakan Rohingya Union, which is a federation of 61 Rohingya organizations worldwide. And at the same time, he is also the founding chairman of the Burmese Rohingya Association of North America and the president and chairman of the Board of Trustees of Muslim Aid America. So at this point of time, I would like to invite our honorable keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Waqar Uddin, to deliver his speech.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Ruhul Amin, and thank you, the panelists, for organizing this event. First of all, I want to extend my special thanks to Dr. Abdul Bari for a great introduction. It's a very specific, very comprehensive, a lot of historical information that global community doesn't know about Rohingya people, the indigenous population of Rohingya in Rakhine State, Arakan, and this is really a great introduction, very informative. I'm going to start sharing the slide. See. Can you see the slide?
Yes, please.
Can you see the slides now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Can you make it a broader, I mean, full screen, the slide?
There's an issue with the setup, so
okay, it's okay, no problem. Yeah, you can carry on, please.
A little bit problem with the issue size. Let me see, I can increase the size, but it's going to go out of that. Okay, so I am going to focus the Rohingya issue. Rohingya issue was an issue in Myanmar, Burma, and started, after Dr. Abdul said, it started really long time back. Particularly the crisis has spiraled in 1962. So that's where it started from Rakhine State, but it is no longer an issue in Rakhine State or Burma as it reached at the global scale. The world community, international community is struggling with this, talking about this, trying to find a solution. So I'm going to give that presentation on the perspective of from Myanmar to at the global scale, how the situation in the spiraled, how the crisis has become so big. So it is started, the crisis has started as a persecution of Rohingya community. Particularly a landmark was in this process of persecution to genocide was 1962 when General Ne Win overthrew the government. But prior to that, there were some issues during British time, 1942, a crisis and others. But particularly the landmark started was the seeded, the Rohingya genocide seed was planted in 1962. So how did that end up to this point? How did it get to this point with refugees and IDPs in many countries, displaced people, internal displaced people, large population, refugee population in Bangladesh? So the crisis began, as I said earlier, the persecution of Rohingya. It is institutionalized by the military dictatorship starting from 1962 when Ne Win took over. General Ne Win took over the power. So that includes, I have listed highlighted only a few things. It's much more than what I've listed here. Restriction, major human rights violations, restriction of movements, deprivation of freedom of worship, education, deprivation of education, restriction on marriage to child policies, and you can go down there the list, land confiscation and human trafficking to arbitrary arrest, torture, and killing. So these are the highlights of how the institutionalized persecution policy went on for decades and decades and decades, and even now. So the blueprint of this persecution, this is systemic as well as a systematic. You look at the 1982 citizenship law, that's another landmark. A citizenship law instituted by this dictatorship. And then came violence. In the part of the blueprint was violence. Again, systematic, very systematically done. And the extremist elements in the government used militia and mobs, not just the government forces. And military assault on civilian population. You have seen how the refugee came to your country, to Bangladesh, and atrocities, mutilation and killing, rape cases, gang rapes, including intimidation, and then forceful displacement. Then not only external displacement, there a significant population was displaced internally also. And then again, the part of that displacement, human trafficking was involved. The refugees were involved as a victim of human trafficking. Dehumanization, publicly. They used derogatory term for Rohingya, like you use it used to be historically used in the West, like N-word. So these are some of the blueprint of the genocide. It started with as a persecution. So how big is this? What's the depth and width of this crisis? How far it went internationally? This is, according to reports, the Rohingya, this exodus was the fastest movement of population. Imagine over 750,000 people moving crossing border to Bangladesh for safety within 2 weeks. That many people have moved in less than 2 weeks. Then a crisis has become into a global magnitude. And it has reached as far away as International Court of Justice, ICJ, court case. UN has described this issue as Rohingya people as one of the most persecuted people in the world. Human Rights Council and others has said textbook case of ethnic cleansing. It's far beyond ethnic cleansing. It went step by step to basically different within the genocide. Violence with genocidal intent. United Nations has reported, compiled a extensive report, let's call it genocidal intent. And then OIC Council of Foreign Ministers have been debating and trying to address this issue for decades. Every year there's a CFM, Council of Foreign Ministers of OIC, 57 foreign ministers. That has been going on every year for last over a decade, more than over a decade. And then this issue is also addressed at the Muslim World League, Rabita, Muslim World League. And you go to European Parliament, you will see the issue, Canadian Parliament, ASEAN is dealing with this issue, and individually many countries. So this is the depth and width of the crisis. It's not a small crisis. It's not a small thing. It has a global ramification, this Rohingya genocide. You can, just a couple of plus one to show you what do I mean by human rights violation. Men, women, children, they did not leave even little kids, minors, torture, and women were abused. And this, some of the examples of this abuse, how you can imagine how their fate will end up, these women. Victims, hundreds and thousands of them. And now you saw military assault in 2017. This is a perfect example of how systematically the assault has taken place. You can see gasoline pouring, the troops in this farmer civilian population. It is in the background, you can see farm there. It's a farmhouse. It is a Rohingya refugee. Some of the refugees in Bangladesh is their homes that they're pouring the gasoline and torching the homes. It went so many hundreds. They did the same way, systematically burning. You can see here, they are burning the homes, and these are mobs, militia, and within them, mixed with what? Look at this in the back. You cannot see it's not out, you can see out of focus probably, but you look high resolution, you can see it's a bat in the written in the back, police with the guns here. It says police here. So with the mobs burning Rohingya homes, they are involved because it is a part of the blueprint. Look at this, what happened. That's what, how you saw the gasoline pouring into the home, set in fire. So systematically burning village by village by village. You can see from the aerial photo how they are, this fire cannot cross from this village to this village here, it's across the river. So they have a blueprint how they are going to burn. Human Rights Watch has, that time, has done part of the mapping of this over 400 villages like this, where all the red dots are people at that time during that crisis. Actually later it became more, you will find more red dots than this. These are all villages completely gutted, completely removed, systematically with pre-planning. And then what happened? There are homes going into the sky, into fire, in smoke, and they are watching helplessly. They left the villages, trying to. And then when they are leaving, they are fleeing these burning homes. They've been shot at. These men, women, and children. They have been shot at by the troops, by the soldiers. And then they're stranded. Look at that. They're trying to flee to Bangladesh. That's the safe place they can go. There's nowhere else they can go. So this way, in between the water, thousands of people are helplessly stranded. But Alhamdulillah, they were able to cross into Bangladesh with very little loss. And our Rohingya community is very grateful to people and government of Bangladesh to give them the refuge. If Bangladesh did not let them in, and how many thousands of lives would have been lost. Can you imagine, put a figure into that. So this is how we have saved our population. Our population was saved by the generosity and sympathy of the government and people of Bangladesh, as part of Muslim Ummah. They are a part of Muslim Ummah. That's why they've saved this humanity, not just humanity to save lives. That's noble effort by the people and government of Bangladesh. They crossed so many ways, by boats, on foot, and any way they can cross into the safety. And boat-loaded people, they are drowning. Reports of drowning, you have seen how many men, women, children were drowned while trying to cross to safety. And not just boats, on foot. They're crossing the water, a lot of rivers, creeks. And look at this in this picture here. He was trying to save his little child swimming, little kids, whatever belonging they can get. And the elderly, they're being carrying the elderly. So you have seen all these pictures, but just a reminder, I'm showing you this, what happened, and that went into history book. So refugee camps, now they have ended in Bangladesh, they are in refugee camps, and they are now where they are. So let me show you a little bit about the situation in refugee camp in Bangladesh. If you look at the map here, there are 2 displaced communities. In red box, this is refugee camps in Bangladesh, southern Bangladesh. And beside now, recently, if you have known that Bhasan Char Island, right here somewhere, there have been some of the refugees from this area have been moved to the island. And then that's red box, the yellow box is IDP camps. Inside Rakhine State, Situ area has several IDP camps, internally displaced refugee camps. They are significant population, they are refugee population, displaced population, probably approaching to 300,000-400,000. They started as 120,000, but have been growing. Right here, so this is a detail of, you probably know more than I do about your country, refugee camps, and red triangles are refugee camps. Several locations in southern Bangladesh, and then you have about right here will be the island there. So according to the reports, the refugee camps in Bangladesh is the world's most crowded refugee camps. Refugee camps in Iraq and Middle East, some other places in Africa, but it's not like this. It is 40,000 people per square kilometer in Kutupalong camp alone. So that's how dense you can imagine. There are sanitation issues. Why? Because of the crowdedness, overcrowdedness. And water problem, drinking water problem, part of sanitation issue. And then monsoon time, you will have a flooding, too much rain, and summertime comes hot and dry. And then there's not much water, a scarcity of water. So it's extreme weather conditions are causing a lot of problem for the refugees. You can see when I say world's most crowded refugee camp, 40,000 people per square kilometer, that's how it is. From aerial picture, you see how dense the refugee population is with small structures, shed and little shelter areas. And if a water crisis, summertime comes, they have to line up to get the water during the summertime. And that's not enough. Well, they have to try to dig small wells. And you can see they're digging wells, try to find water. And they are, see how brown, look at the color of the water. It's not clear. And you can see it's not a clean water. So they are consuming that water. And children, elderly, women, men, the food crisis, malnutrition is there. You can see these children getting sick because of malnutrition. Alhamdulillah, we have to be grateful to Almighty that still we have not lost that many people in refugee camp, because Bangladesh government is very, very supportive of providing means and ways to international community, NGOs and others to provide food and relief supplies. So that
Dr. Wakaruddin, just one thing, if you can go a bit faster, the rest of your presentation.
Yes, yes. So this is the camp. This is yellow camp is in Arakan State. These are the camps located from different townships. People came as an IDP. And then you can see that this IDP is not better than refugee camps, IDP camps, and muddy, floors are muddy, rain, and there's malnutrition again in IDP camps. And then there are a lot of international relief groups. Many of them I listed, highlighted some of them, relief groups in Rakhine State, but they have problem with the access. They cannot go everywhere, all the needed areas to provide the support. Situation in refugee camps is what I said earlier. The situation is still short of supplies. International community can do more to make their food, more medicine, water available to them. And then they need to go back. Basically, their safe voluntary return is needed for them to go back to their country with all their full rights, IDP camps, the same situation. The relief is much, much more needed than Bangladesh camps. In IDP camps, clean water and all other issues. And they also need to go back to their villages. Some of the camps are 2 miles away, 3 miles away from their home villages. That they can see them there next to their camps. Okay, so last part here, a couple of minutes, just seeking justice. So global scale, I'm not going to cover what happened in United Nations, General Assembly, Security Council, Human Rights Council, US Congress, State Department, and a whole range of things will take a lot of time to cover. But let me go straight to with the time, limited time, seeking justice at the International Court of Justice, ICJ. And there are, remember, Myanmar is the signatory of 1948 Genocide Convention. And there's articles, a lot of articles, right? So this is, you can read that later when you are recording it. Article 1, Article 2, that's more, most relevant to Rohingya genocide case, Article 2 and 1 and 2. And then this case was, as you know, filed by Gambia against Myanmar, according to Article 9 of Genocide Convention, 1948, and then supported by OIC member countries, 57 member countries. That was approved by OIC to put Gambia in there in the lawsuit during the 46th Council of Foreign Ministers, OIC CFM, determination of genocide. And then in this case, 4 provisional measures were granted to protect Rohingya in Rakhine State. Gambia's application has over 110 instances of acts and crimes of genocide committed by Myanmar armed forces. 6 provisional measures were requested by ICJ, by Gambia at ICJ, and then the 4 were granted by unanimous vote, 17 judges. Those judges include one of the judges from Myanmar side also. He also voted for that provisional measures. So finally, what you can do, what international community can do, of how to help. There are a lot of things can be done. Again, I will highlight only a few things, although it's an important thing. Very first thing is keeping the momentum. We have built the momentum internationally at the United Nations and many other places, the ICJ, all that. We need to sustain that. We need to sustain the momentum is very important. And then in US and other countries, reach out to the government, the community, interfaith or Muslim community or intercommunal places, government elected officials and the other government sectors to support the ICJ case. And when we're talking about in US and in Muslim Ummah in US and interfaith community in US been asking US government to determine Rohingya issue as a crisis, a genocide. That will give a boost to ICJ case. International media, local media is very important, continuous coverage. And then we have the resolutions, US Senate, US House need to be, we need to reach out, communities need to reach out to those elected officials to pass this House and Senate resolution. And then a lot of interfaith events, local and nationally, have been helping Rohingya issues, mobilizing the community in the country. And humanitarian relief aid must be sustained. Thank you very much.